Yes.
Oh wait, they give disclaimers now about me.
I guess, probably people suing, talking about I didn't know I was being recorded and shit.
That's
you
new.
know how that is.
That is new.
Okay, now to Facebook. I didn't advertise it.
Nah, they know.
Actually, me too.
Because when we don't do it, that's when they come looking. They come looking for you. Like, hey, where you guys at?
Mm-hmm. About. Okay, wait. I almost made a mistake and put it on my own timeline. Don't want them people knowing me. For real, for real. Okay.
That's funny.
I believe we are live. Let me get all my beverages. Happy Friday. You got your beverage?
It's not a alcoholic. I'm actually just drinking some Pellegrino. That's it. That's all I'm hitting on.
Do I know you anymore? What's wrong? What happened?
No,
you want to talk about it?
To be honest, I'm not taking a break from liquor, but last week in Atlanta, I drank way too much of it, and like I don't know, man. Like like my boy literally said to me at the end of it, I've never seen you that hurt. I was like, man, listen, we were going for like 4 days in a row, and I'm just like, I don't know who we think we are at this point.
You know what? That's the really, really depressing thing about getting older. It's like you can't even enjoy the good stuff anymore. Like you have to think logically about your drinking.
Like I don't think I ever never got a hangover until I was about either like mid to late 20s, something like that.
Yeah, it was like for me
when
too.
I started getting them, they've been fucking terrible.
It's a terrible thing.
Because it's like I think like my body was just like, all right, man, we have put up with enough years of your shit, so now you're gonna have to feel something to maybe deter you from trying this again. It hasn't deterred me fully, but it's
I have strategy in mind. I have a strategy. I gotta drink a lot of water in between and all that.
Right, because for example, like when you said that just now, it reminded me because like I haven't like eaten something in a little bit, so I was like, all right, I ain't gonna drink something right now because like if I'm hungry, then I drink, then that shit gonna go left. Younger me didn't give a fuck. It was just like, yo, listen, man, no breakfast. You could just go. That's fine. Take shots for breakfast, man. Because listen, here's my logic. They use wheat in a lot of these liquors, so that's my starch, right? We're good to go. We're ready to roll.
Can't do it anymore, though. Not like we used to.
Not at all.
So we truthing about all things black. What's going on with your black self? What's happening in this black world? Okay, can we talk about? I wrote about this. I want to talk about Simone Biles.
Okay. Oh, my wife in the back. Just we can start with Simone Biles. My wife in the back just shouted out race norming. I don't know if you heard about this thing that happened with the NFL. We can get to that in a second.
Oh yeah, Trish. Okay, no, I don't know about that. Tell me about it. Thanks, Trish.
No, she actually let me know about it. So basically, when it comes to like concussion protocols and like brain damage and what have you, because obviously football is like the most dangerous shit in the world, right?
Right.
So they're basically like doing payouts, for people based on whatever like damage they might have sustained, during their career. However, what they were doing is something that they deemed race norming, which is basically if you have like a certain cognitive level, they're basically starting Black people at a lower cognitive level. So if they're saying that you have sustained a certain amount of damage from playing, they're saying, is that really damage? Because you guys already are like lower on a...
No.
People, go Google this shit. So, and mind you, they just overturned this in like a month ago.
They overturned it yesterday.
Okay, like she said, they overturned it yesterday. I was trying to give
them the benefit of the doubt. Okay,
but
Tell Trish she got me. I got a drink now. Tell Trish she don't pull me to the wine.
But the reason why that's obviously significant in the fact that it's fucking clearly racist, right? But
Racist as hell. So that's basically saying
but
we're dumb.
on top of that, from a monetary standpoint, they know that black people make up the vast majority of the NFL, right? So if most of the people don't qualify for the settlement, that minimizes how much money the NFL actually has to pay out to people for the damage that they're sustaining on the field. It's the wildest shit. It's the wildest shit in the fucking world. Like, I read it, but it's crazy because I read it, and as shocked as I was, I still thought about it being the NFL, and I was like, I'm not as shocked as I should be, because like that sounds like
no, I'm not shocked.
That sounds like some shit the NFL
I'm
would do.
shocked, but I'm not shocked.
That sounds like some shit the NFL would do. So basically, like, yo, I'm gonna reiterate this for people who didn't know about this, because like literally, I didn't know about this till a couple of days ago. But basically, the type of head injuries and brain damage that these players are sustaining on the field, if it's attributed to your playing, they're literally giving players settlements. But on like a cognitive scale, they're starting black people at a lower cognitive scale. So when they're saying that I sustained these certain amount of damages from playing, they're able to offset that by saying, but no, you weren't basically as high to begin with. So how much of that is basically your innate lack of knowing shit and damage sustained on the field? And it's fucking insane. It's fucking insane.
I'm sitting here, my mind is, so just the same white supremacist ideology that has been used throughout the history of America to oppress Black people. And what kills me, and I really like to hear all different perspectives, right? But when people come on here and try to say that those days are dead, they're just more sophisticated. They're just more sophisticated, everyone. I mean,
because to your point about the sophistication, people love to think, if I'm not saying the N-word, if I'm not denying you from eating a sandwich at this table, then things aren't racially based. But then here, this entire time, now mind you, I personally haven't watched much NFL over the last few years, but yeah, I'm still relatively knowledgeable about what's going on. I had no fucking idea about this rule. I had no idea. None whatsoever. This thing that is
I had no idea.
That's actually affecting these players' lives. I had no idea that this was going on. So all they did was basically like, as crazy as it sounds, I would much rather somebody to my face call me all types of names and et cetera, because then I know not to deal with them, not to do business with them, not to like interact with them of any kind. But then here these people are, and the thing, like looping back to, you talk about sports in general, because they love to throw that like, oh, how bad do you have it when you're a millionaire, if you're talking about it, you're an athlete. But then when you look at that in comparison to what the actual owners are making, what these television networks are making, these players are making peanuts compared to everybody else.
They're not making shit.
Off the backs of their talent.
On the backs of their, but this is what kills me. And I'm saying, even amongst our people, okay, it's like to be down and to be Black, it's like people seem to feel as if you must suffer in some way. Like you can't have any sort of money. I mean, I don't know, was it Sandra, one of the founders of BLM, and she owned 5 houses, and how people were going off about that?
Yeah.
But she is a college professor, right? And had invested before. Like, she wasn't getting rich off BLM, or was she?
But I mean, I don't know her story in particular, but you can go, all across the board. Like, up until the hurricane in Houston, which made people look at Joel Osteen crazy, I never heard people give Joel Osteen the same criticism they did TD Jakes.
This is my thing.
They were criticizing TD Jakes. Where's TD getting his money from? I'm like, the same place he's getting all these other, Benny Hinn, Joel Osteen, all these other passes, the same way that they're getting, their money. So why are you aiming at him in particular?
Are the people who run all the other organizations. Make-A-Wish Foundation, one of the leaders just got in trouble for actually stealing. But even the ones that don't steal, they make a lot of money because they still are working. I mean, right. it's like, even if you're an activist, you have to work. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to
Yeah.
eat it. Like,
Right.
like I always tell people, Randy B don't give me a dime. Like, it's not, so you got to be getting some money from somewhere. So you're either going to supplement it with selling some books, you got to have a side job. But even with Black people, it's like, you're not really down unless you're broke. In some ways, it was interesting because I told you I read, actually listened to Paul Mooney's book.
Oh wow.
After
Okay.
he passed. Oh, it's
Okay.
so good. Everybody needs to read it.
What's
But
the name of it?
Black is the New White.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a quick read. You would like it, but and he's best friends from Richard Pryor, so it gives you insight into both of them. And they talk about how they both struggled because the more successful they would become, they would also feel as if they were selling
They
out.
were selling out, right?
But get comfortable with being down, being Black, and also being successful in doing Hollywood. And so, he really attributes a lot of that to like Richard Pryor's drug use. I mean, as it got, because he was just trying to manipulate both. And it was interesting to me, I believe, as Black people, because I'm doing this whole series where I'm asking people, what is Black? And do we not have these ideas of what Black should be, right? It's like we think that someone is not down, or they get a lot of crap if they have sometimes a certain level of money that comes from a certain way. Like, if you're rich because you're like, rapper rich, it seems like that's acceptable.
That's
But
fine.
if you're
That's
rich,
fine.
that's fine. But if you're rich because you worked your way up in corporate America, like, you ain't really down. And I was like, I really think that we need to look at that, because the way they dealt with this sister, it wasn't like she was buying mansions. I mean, she had like family property, like,
Right.
bought Big Mama's house down in North Carolina, with the porch. And they just ripped her apart to the point she's now resigned.
I mean, it's crazy because like you've heard ideas like that before. Like, you can go back last week, we talked about Biggie, and it's like Biggie had a line. He's like, either you're slinging crack rock or you got a wicked jump shot or something like that. Or like Jay-Z is like, all us Blacks got is sports and entertainment. And it's just like, yeah, like we've put ourselves in a box where if it's not in this, realm, because we had this conversation before where we talked about the American Black billionaires. All of them except Robert Smith are in the entertainment and sports field. And it's just like we've only allowed ourselves to enter these fields, which, by the way, statistically speaking, probably the hardest to get anywhere. So for us to glamorize a field that, like, it's much easier for, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's much easier for one of us to become a computer programmer than it is to become an NBA player. And even if you do make it to the NBA, odds are your ass sitting on the bench. So, so it's like, so you literally, to even be in that NBA, you probably got to be the best player on your college team just to maybe make it to the end of that bench. But if we encourage our kids to actually like do something in the STEM field, like right now, I'm looking at like my son's school, my oldest son's school got them doing like little programs that they had to write. Mind you, I'm a computer engineer. I didn't write my first program until I got to college. So the fact that they're doing this so far ahead of time, but it's like we're not wired right now to think that that's an acceptable path for us to be in. And you were talking about Paul Mooney and Richard Pryor feeling that sellout thing. The only thing I'm thinking about is Dick Gregory, where Dick Gregory literally gave up his career because of that same idea, where he said, because I think he said that in the 60s. In the 60s, I think Dick Gregory was like, I was making like 17 million a year. It was 17 million in the 60s. It's fucking crazy.
That's crazy.
But he felt like he was being a sellout from entertaining, but then also trying to, get into the struggle, which, I mean, I can't speak for these men who've done greater things than I have, but it's like, I don't think it should be a mutually exclusive thing where like, hey, just because like you're doing something that's profitable, that means that you're,
but can you make a lot of money typically by not selling out? So it's interesting. They talk about Mooney talks about Dave Chappelle
Mhm.
And did you know Dave Chappelle was offered the role of Bubba Gump in Forrest?
I
What
did
is
not
it
know.
called?
I did not know that.
Yeah, and he was like, "I ain't playing the black ignorant, trope that y'all have in every freaking movie," and he refused to do it. And this is before he was whatever. He was like, "I'm not doing it," and there, you know, there's not a lot of roles that black people can play if you're like, let's doing the Hollywood game where you don't have to sell out a little bit. I mean, that's my story. That's how Randy B came to be, right? Where I had to like do dual. I've always been doing the D&I stuff, but you couldn't really talk about anything real because the people that were paying me and now that are paying me, you have to be real. I can't even say you have to be delicate. You literally can't say a word, right? Because there's certain topics that, you know, they're very uncomfortable talking about, like racism. And
I mean,
so, do you have to sell out to a certain level in order to make money in America outside of, well, we can't even say even within sports. I mean, it's not the best players that are playing. I mean, a lot of players don't play because they didn't, follow certain rules.
the truth is, I think we all sell out a little bit. We all do.
Right.
Like every last one of us. Like unless listen,
No, I know we do.
unless like so people who maybe watch this, maybe listen to this, like literally, unless you're literally marching to the beat of your own drum on the street outside, you're selling out a little bit in your day-to-day life. It's something like it doesn't have to be to the point where it's eating your soul or anything like that. But like, yeah, you know that sometimes it's just like, all right, I might have to sit on this thought a little bit, or let me not bring this thing up, or yeah, we all do it. We all do it, and
To the
it's
point
just
we don't even know when we're doing it. Because like I said during one of my TV appearances, I said on the thing, I said, who decided what was professional to wear to work? Like white males decided that khakis and a white shirt was, the right thing to wear to work. We didn't start out doing that. And, everybody just like said, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. And we know our brothers will walk in with more colors, a purple suit, a red suit, whatever, but we typically will not do that. I haven't seen one manager or above that's a brother with some flash, with some color, like was what we do. So even with what we wear, there's some sellout because we're trying to look what society has told us is professional.
I'm laughing because I've told you before that I went to boarding school for high school, and
Yeah.
I remember like my roommate back then, we rebelled a little bit against so the uniform is supposed to be, you got your khaki shirt tucked into you got your shirt, collar shirt tucked into your khaki pants, and you got your shoes, and et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know, like it's something in my spirit said nah. So so, and I know some people watching this might think to yourself, black man, what the fuck are you doing? But basically, what we ended up doing was and they say no hats, right? So we wore do rags. We had the shirt; it wasn't tucked in. I was wearing Air Force Ones, and I think I had like a chain on or something like that too. And of course, on the outside, that might sound fucking nuts, right? But I don't know. It was like that was my 15-year-old brain saying, I don't want to fit into this thing. And it got to a point where faculty members were like, you have to take that off your head. And I was like, but see, this is the smart ass in me. It's like, hey, this is technically not a hat. And the rule book said that I can't wear a hat. So I'm not technically wearing a hat. So I'm technically not violating the rules. By next year they put do-rags in the rule book, right?
Oh, of course they did. Of course
But
they
like
did.
it's to that point where it's just like, yeah, like sometimes like when you're giving up a lot, and it's just like sometimes you don't want to do it. Like you don't want to give up that inch. You don't want to assimilate. There's a certain amount of assimilation you just don't want to fucking do, because we all know that we all do it. And it can get tiring.
I think that's where my earrings came. It's like, as I went up the corporate ladder, I didn't want to wear those like like you're supposed to wear small little earrings. I was like, I got to have something that feels like me, right?
Right.
Up in here.
Right.
So okay, but speaking of the do-rag, we got to talk about your girl Monique and what she said about. Did you see that?
I saw, I
About
saw, I saw, I saw, I saw more of the reactions to it than I
yes.
saw what you said. Well, go ahead, go ahead.
What that she
And we
said
got to
about
get back to
people wear
Simone
bottoms.
Biles. You mentioned
We
Simone
got to
Biles.
get.
We
Oh,
gotta get back.
Simone Biles, we're gonna talk about.
Okay.
But the bonnets, the pajamas, the robes, and the furry flip flops. I mean, let me just say this: what we get upset and go crazy about sometimes just surprises the shit out of me, because that was like top news. Like people were losing their minds about this thing. I thought it was something light, but let me just say, as I say on everything, I'm old. I'm 50 years old. So I was like, maybe I don't relate. Maybe, like it's equating to the do-rag that you wore to school. I don't like when I see young ladies out with their pajamas on and stuff and their things. And it's not because people said, "Oh, you're trying to that's a sellout thing." And I swear it's not that. What I love about my people, I mean, what I love about us is the exact opposite, is that we some people who will walk in and just be fly as fuck for no reason at all. Like we will go to a basketball game and everybody's in like jeans, tennis shoes, and whatever. And the women are in there like, what? I mean, like we just the culturally, if a black person's in a space, we are always the flyest bugs up in there. And I just think that we've always, regardless of our socioeconomics, had this pride of looking good. And so, and I love our flavor. I love that we do it differently. Like you've never gonna hear me say this about like purple hair or all that stuff. I'm down for it. Like I love that we have that flavor, but you just can't look good. Like a bonnet is not. You don't look good to be in a bonnet. It's like you're not cute. So I don't get it.
I'll put it like this, like, cause yeah, like you, like I saw the topic and I was like, I think I scrolled right on by it. I was just like, Lawrence doesn't care enough. But I'll say this. When you talk about like kind of like wearing your inside stuff outside or what have you, let me put it to you like this, and people can debate this if you want to. If you're wearing your bonnet or your house clothes or your pajama pants, what have you, you do realize that is not the freshest thing. But when I say freshest, I mean literally like fresh as in nostrils and smell. That is not the freshest thing you have on in your house, because I guarantee you didn't open a fresh pack of pajama pants to go put that shit on to go to the airport. You wearing the same pajama pants that you probably rolled out of your bed in and went to this airport. So the same thing that was in your bed, collecting all your sweat and booty juice, is now in this airport around us. So if we catch one good waft, I can smell probably what you cooked in your kitchen before you got here, right?
Okay, I'm back.
So that's the only thing I think about when people wear their inside shit. It's the same thing that when I see, fathers or mothers drop their kids off at school, and it's just like they wearing the same raggedy sweats. Like, yo, bro, I saw you wear them sweats 3 days in a row. I know it's not clean, bro. I know it's not clean. And me, I'm very obsessive compulsive just in general. Like my wife can attest, she fucking hates me for it. But it's like there's a certain amount of cleanliness and like order that is just like, yo, look, wear whatever you want to wear. If I felt like you pulled out a fresh pack of pajama pants, I probably wouldn't say nothing. It's like, you know what? That's your style. Do whatever it is that you're doing. But I know for a fact you wearing the same old dirty drawers that you wore when you rolled up out of your bed this morning, and that's gross. That's gross. You on a plane with other people wearing the same old drawers, the same old basketball shorts, the same old slippers that you were wearing before. That's gross. That's gross.
Well, but I think though, okay, like I was saying, if they were wearing it and thought they looked good, but maybe I couldn't appreciate it looking good, like because of my age. Like I see the men with the jeans all the way with their booty showing. It doesn't look good to me, but I recognize that's the style, and I understand they may think they look good. The young ladies that come where they literally look like, they got they just look like for real, like you look in your house, I can't imagine they think they look good. And I guess because I love my sisters, especially my young sisters, I'm like, it makes me feel like you don't care about yourself. Like when my kids like do some shit, I'm like, do you love yourself? Like fuck what I think. Like fuck what I think. Seriously. Do you love yourself? Because some of the stuff when people do is like some people to me look like they don't love themselves and don't nobody love them. Like, and that's all I'm saying. Like nobody, like and so when I see people like that, I'm like, and this girl went completely off on me and was like, I thought said I was trying to own women. I was like, no, I'm always gonna advocate for my sisters to the day I die, and I just love them. And so when they look like they don't love themselves, that concerns me. When you just like like if my son, for instance, woke up because a lot of it's hip for the little white kids that when they take their exams, they go in their pajamas and stuff, whatever. Okay, I get you going through something or whatever. But if my son woke up and like was wearing like a do-rag and pajamas, just like he rolled out of bed and went out, I would say, do you want to talk about something? Are you depressed? That's what it looks like. I would be like out to my son. I'm like, are you depressed? It's something happening. Maybe it's fly. Like I said, I'm old. Maybe that shit fly dope. Maybe when girls are wearing it, young dudes are looking at them like, oh man, she got that green bonnet happening. She dope. I don't know. But I just can't see it. I can't see it. I just can't.
Because I guarantee it's not the fresh bonnet. I guarantee it. Like, so basically, the moral of the story is don't wear booty juice out the house. But no, anyway, I'm joking. Listen, no booty juice out the house. If you don't wear the pajama
booty juice is personal.
At least get the first. Because I'm wearing pajama pants right now. I'm glad nobody can see it because I look fucking crazy. But Lawrence is not going to the airport wearing this same exact pair of pajama pants because like I've been in this house drinking all sorts of things, and that wouldn't be a good idea to then turn around and then just go get on somebody's plane. That's it. But I saw the debate.
To deal with that booty juice. We none of us want it.
And the thing about it is, and and the last part of it is, you know how it is, man. Most people can't smell themselves. So it's not that they get around other people that the other people can smell it. And it's just like, yo, that wafted by just now. And you could do something about that. You could do something about that.
And maybe I'm vain. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't get like all made up to be on here with you, but like, there's no way you could call me. We had this talk. I don't think, and I'm gonna be doing it for my do-rag, unless it's gonna have to be some emergency. I mean, because I still just pull it off, right? I'm gonna put, because I sleep, I'm at least try to, because I just care about myself. I care about how I look. There's a care there. But anyway, on to more important things. Let's talk about Simone Biles.
Go ahead.
Because we also got to talk about Naomi.
We do. Okay. Yes, we do.
Okay. I just love my little, okay, on the other hand, yes, my young sisters are wearing the bonnets, but on the other hand, my young sisters are handling their business. So Simone Biles does the double, triple, I don't know, but it had never been done before.
As most things she does. Go ahead.
Like, and when I say never, you have to understand, like, there's certain countries that their athletes, that's full time. Like, their gymnasts that they compete against, that's all they do. Never been done. She doing shit ain't never been done. What did she get? But marked down. She got, they penalized her for doing better. And that's not the first time they've done it to her. And that's not the first time they have done it to a black athlete. So, there's a history, like when black people started dunking, because white people weren't dunking. When we started dunking, they made it where it was actually a foul to do so. Like it was a bad thing. So every time that we've done something that was better, they was like, well, let's put a rule against that. So there's a history and a legacy of holding black people down from being great. And when Simone said she's gonna do it anyway, and they said, well, why are you gonna do it? She said, because I can.
Because when you said that I can, that reminds me of that. And it also reminds me of Venus Williams, where he said, just like, I'm not going to listen to, because it's all the same energy. All the same energy is, I'm not going to dampen myself for people who can't do what I can do, right? So Simone Biles basically saying, I'm gonna do it again because I know for a fact that you, and the thing about it is, what they're trying to do against Simone is gonna have an adverse effect. What I mean by that is, because what are we doing right now? We're talking about it, right? Everybody's gonna remember that she can do this thing that you motherfuckers can't. And they're gonna remember this point in time where you tried to literally take points away from her because you couldn't do something. So you're making this actually bigger.
We will.
You're making this bigger than it even, when I say needed to be, it needed to be a big deal anytime somebody does something that is unforeseen. But the fact is, they're giving this even more legs than I think they intended to, because now look, we're all looking around saying, oh, hey, look at them hating over there. Look at them hating. And I bet you there's going to be girls all over these gymnasiums that are going to be trying to practice these exact moves, because it's like, look, the bar has been set now.
Right now, as we speak.
The bar has been set. And there's going to be somebody coming, and there's going to be somebody coming that's going to, look, I got to get on whatever level Simone Biles is on. I got to get on that level. We can't do it right now because none of us can do it right now. But hey, we gonna come get, and that's exactly the same energy Venus gave when she sat at that podium and basically said, like, look, at the end of the day, you guys can say whatever you want, but I just know that none of you people asking me questions can do what I can do. And that's exactly what I feel good about myself.
That was okay. That was my feel good of the week. That's something I'm telling you, I'm going to remember that for a long time. She took her power. And what is interesting to me, going back to the NFL, and I was like, all those brothers, where the NFL is mainly black, because Venus is in a mainly white sport. All those brothers, if they had band together, what they could have done, but they didn't do it. And she's like, basically, like, I'm taking my power. And that's what Naomi did, to jump to Naomi, how Naomi said, yeah, I'm not doing interviews because I need to focus on the game. Right? And they go off because, ultimately, I believe that people can't stand when they cannot control Black people. It all comes to control. Right? And when a Black person takes their power and say, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do interviews. I'm going to focus on the game. And people went off, and I was like, and they were acting like it was so horrible. And basically, she's the highest paid tennis player ever. The second winningest, but the highest paid. She could not work again forever. She don't need y'all. She really doesn't need them at all. And I just think it blows people's mind when Black people have the audacity to say, I'm going to consider me, because we're such like workhorses. And we just do it. And let me just say this. Shout out to the Black women, because it's like Black women who are like, you know what? Psh, I ain't doing that. I feel like it's always been us being like, yeah, nah, we ain't doing that. We tired. We ain't doing it. We got to look out for me. Self-care up in here. You in deep thought, LC.
No, because it's like, yes, to everything you just said. It's also going to when you talk about like mental health, right? Because basically she said that like, I need to worry about my own mental health. And it's like, there's so many different stigmas at play at once, because it's even the fact that, we've talked about it multiple times, like when it comes to the Black community and mental health, right? Where it's like, it still seems like such a far-fetched idea that, hey, I'm not cool right now. Let me not go put myself in harm's way. I'm really not feeling it. We never allow ourselves to do that, right? But on the same token, just in general, we can be so used to you're used to all the tragic stories of the substance abuse, or the people who just end up being just train wrecks in their daily lives. That's like the norm story. And it's like, that's almost expected. But then somebody says, you know what? Instead of being a tragic figure, let me take a step back and worry about myself. And that's somehow the story. It's like, no, allow this girl, because she's, first off, you need to take into consideration she's young, right?
Baby.
She's young. with the weight of the world on her shoulders, because all the people that are out there criticizing, you've probably never been the best at anything, right? And not only have you probably never been the best at anything, you've never been expected to be the best at anything. So when you're young, I'm the best. I got to go out here, prove I'm the best. I'm not feeling that great right now. You know what? Let me take a step back, gather myself, and come back stronger than I did before.
Well, no, but LC, before she said, I'll do interviews. I'm gonna do it after the game. If she's a prime athlete, and her focus is to win the tournament, if I say, which people do shit all the time, I gotta focus. I gotta get my mind right to do this. I train people in corporations all the time. I don't put my Zoom camera on literally until about 2 minutes before, right? Because I'm not trying to, I gotta have my mind right. You know what I mean? I'm not.
Mhm.
So she says, I'm not gonna talk to you prior to, but I'm gonna play my game, and then afterwards you can ask your questions. What's wrong with that? But so to me, it wasn't even logically a problem they had with her doing that. I think the problem was a loss of control. Like, we must control you. And how dare you, little brown girl, take control of yourself? How dare you, speak of what you're going to do? And I really do feel that if a white tennis player had said, I'm really whatever, they really had so much sympathy for that girl who couldn't even won one game, got caught doping. They still like made every excuse in the world for her. I can't even think of her name.
Sure.
There we go. If she had said, I'm going through a lot, I've been suffering for depression. I mean, honey, they would have been sending her baskets. I mean, it would have been, oh Lord, we got to protect her, Lord. But when a sister goes up there and says, yeah, it's like the black woman, the strong black woman trope has really not served us well, because I don't think that we are allowed
This
to
is
ever.
this is not funny, but it is funny in the sense that I just saw. I'm blanking on her name right now, but she's a comedian. This black woman who she was talking to me about that exact thing, where she was like, "I'm tired of being the black woman, the strong black woman." Where she said, just like, I never thought to myself, "Hey, I need to move this couch. Let me go get a strong black woman." But it's like, yeah, no, it's to that point where it's just like the idea of being, the strong black woman is glamorized to the point where it's to your detriment. It's to your detriment because this rapper Royce the 5'9" had a song, basically like the hook said, "Go check on your strong friend." And it's basically because it's like we spend so much time thinking that these people are okay because they're strong, but it's just like at the end of the day, even the strong people need someone to lean on. Strong people need someone to feel like they're heard, to feel like they're seen, to feel like their issues aren't being neglected because they're busy taking on everybody else's issues. So it's just like being called strong is obviously it's a good thing. Nobody wants to be weak, but it's also used to the point where people are not allowed to be vulnerable. People are not allowed to. And I write about this. I wrote about this because I write about mental health like pretty frequently when I do write, because I haven't in a while. But when I do, I write about it because that's near and dear to me. And I might do like a periodic checkup with people just to say like, are you okay? And the answer is, it's okay to say no. It's okay to say no, because even though like I haven't really gotten off the ground with the writing recently, mostly because I do these videos with you and I feel like I've expelled all the stuff that I need to say. But for a period of time, I stopped writing just because like I wasn't in the mental headspace to do it.
Me either.
Like I wasn't in the mental headspace to do it. And like, I talk about therapy and all these things because like I go through my bouts of depression and what have you. And it's like, it's okay to not be okay. And the minute that we admit that to ourselves is the minute we can actually do the work to get to a place of being okay, which is exactly what Naomi's doing. Listen, I don't want to play, like, I don't want to play in the French Open right now. I don't. Like, I'm not in a space where I want to fuck this tennis ball, fuck this court. I want to go be somewhere where I'm worried about me.
And who has not been?
There's a French Open every year. There's a French Open every year. I will be at the next one, maybe. This one, I need to take some time. You only get one life for yourself. Because after Naomi Osaka is, gone, which hopefully, obviously, no time soon, but the French Open will still be here. The French Open will still be here. So if she wants to take some time off to get herself right, let her do that. Let her do that.
And what's interesting to me though is that we, even within our own community, don't support that. There's this line that says, Black women aren't celebrated until they do something for somebody else. It's like we aren't celebrated until we suffer. So what's always like, for instance, I've always tried to do stuff. Like I've always taken trips or done stuff. And for that, a lot of Black people would be like, well, I mean, where the kids are, what with their daddy, their parent, with their parent, right?
Yeah.
Or, it wouldn't be, but if I'm suffering in some way, like when I'm telling the stories, because when I would travel, I'd be gone 4 days, but I would cook dinner for the 4 days I was gone and all this stuff. Oh, oh girl, you got it going on. You're so good. It's like suffering has to be a part of the Black woman's story. And I'm so sick of that. Like, so, or like when people say, oh girl, they're gonna bless you in heaven. I want sisters to want to be blessed now. Like, go ahead and try to get some blessings now. Like, stop with that. Stop.
You sound like
that. What?
You sound like my wife. You sound like my wife. My wife says that all the time too. That it's just
yeah,
I don't want to wait to get to heaven to get some good shit happening. Like, no,
and you shouldn't. I mean, and I told you, my mother used to always say to me, they would say the smartest thing that was ever when they were colonizing, when the white man was colonizing the Black man, was to give us religion. Not to say your Christian religion is wrong or anything like that. Anybody don't start calling me a sinner and sending me stuff. But it does have iterations of how it was delivered. Okay.
Absolutely.
So, like the TD Jakes version was more like the white people's version a long time ago. Okay. So we were taught the way it made us be compliant slaves were, you just suffer now and God is going to take care of you. So understand that the one thing that the slave owners ensured that we did was we had church every Sunday, and they talked about getting to salvation, suffering now and being good and obedient. So then we could get to heaven. And I think some of that has stuck with us where, and my mom used to say, while white people are like, it's heaven here on earth and they're living, Black people like, I'm a suffer. And so you have women staying with, men for 43 years. Oh, she was a good woman. She was a good woman. She stayed with that man for 40 years. And, he had 16 kids outside of the marriage and he used to beat up on her, but that was a good woman. No, that's not good. She wasn't good to herself. No.
It's funny. Like, that reminds me of two things, because you were talking about, religion being, put on people, because you hear stories like Nat Turner. Nat Turner was a preacher. He would go from plantation to plantation, quoting these scriptures to slaves to keep them compliant. And then one day he had that epiphany where it's like, fuck this, somebody got to go. There's that. But also to your point, that idea of suffering, I feel like because especially in this country, that's been a large part of the Black experience. It's like Black people can't divorce themselves from the idea of pain. And it's just like, because like that is the experience that a lot of our ancestors have gone through in this country, that you think to yourself, that's gotta be the norm. And it's just like, nah, it's okay to want good shit. It's okay to not have to be mistreated or abused or taken for granted. It's okay to have a job that pays you well. It's okay to not have a job and go work for yourself. It's okay to do things that are more beneficial to you personally. That's fine. It doesn't have to come with a sense of agony. And it's just like, we don't have to hold on to the same pain that came before us. We need to be aware of it. Because you don't want to be doomed to make the same mistakes. You need to know what happened before you, so you know, hey, don't go back down that road again, because that shit can be fun. Because I mean, like, listen, we talk about, just even as a country, people act like Donald Trump is or was something brand new. He stole a lot of phrases directly from Ronald Reagan. But the thing is, we were doomed to repeat certain things because we ain't learned nothing from the last fucking time, right?
Because people, it's funny because people will say to me, because awareness is the first thing. Randy B's on my motto, awareness, and people think I want us to be aware because I want us to be depressed. I don't believe in being. I mean, by depressed, I mean sad. It's like living in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I'm far from that person. Anyone who knows me knows I'm all about a good time and I want to be happy. The reason why I say aware is because America, the majority of Americans are not going to tell you what happens. They're not going to tell you what happened at the NFL recently. They're not going to tell you. And so they will say stuff to me like, well, why can't Black people make more money? Like what? And so you have to be aware that, a Black person with twice, with the same, a college educated Black man gets the same job as a high school graduate white man. That's just fact. And so if you know that, you don't let your self-esteem be screwed up by all the shit they say to us. Or like how they come back with Black on Black crime, where Black on Black crime is equal to white on white crime, or mortgage rates, or all the shit that you just need to know.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I agree with you. Like separating yourself from pain is real. You got to be aware, but don't allow yourself.
Because you have to be aware, because you need to be able to see the signs. But other than that, be happy, y'all. Come on, man. Like it's fucked up enough out here. It's fucked up enough out here.
At least know that you deserve happiness. Like I went on this tour where I was going to different places in the country, and asking. We had these happy hours, and I was asking women, "Did you ever ask yourself what makes you happy?" And I would tell you, Elsie, that's one of the hardest things I ever did. Was I had never asked myself. I never questioned. I was like, okay, what will make money? Okay, my mom said I got to go to college. Okay, check. I never asked myself what would make me happy. And I think that asking yourself that question as a Black woman or man is revolutionary. Like I really do believe. I mean, asking yourself seriously, and don't expect to come up with an answer fast. And I'm talking about real happiness, not that I'm gonna buy this lipstick or this purse happiness, but real happiness.
And to keep in mind when you ask yourself that, sometimes maybe not finding the exact answer, but that question stripping away other things will then get you to your answer. Because you look at it from the perspective of, all right, well, I know for a fact this ain't it. I know that ain't it. So once you start to strip those things away, then you'll start to get to, okay, I think I'm on the path. I think I'm closer on the path now. I think I'm closer on the path. And it's an evolving journey. It
is an evolving journey.
There is no proverbial there. There's no there.
But if you're striving, trust me, you'll get a lot more.
Right. Absolutely.
It's funny when we talk about suffering pain. When I went with this COVID thing, everybody was affected, but I definitely came out of it with different qualifications of who I will allow in my life. Because do you have friends who just like suck the joy out of you? And I think that I had a reserve prior to COVID, but when I was going through COVID and all the associated things that go with it, I didn't have the spare reserve. So certain people who would come with their negative shit and trying to, some people try to tear you down. You have friends that in little ways try to tear you down. I can't celebrate you're happy. And it was hard for me because my parents were deceased. So my friends are my family. So when I let go of a friend, when I say I can't mess with you no more, it's major. It's like for it's a lot of thought, whatever. But then you have some people coming to you telling you all these person's issues. And so it's like, again, going back to you can't be happy. You're supposed to adopt other people's toxicity. And I feel like we also do that in with people's romantic relationships and with everything. It's like we feel that we are responsible for other people's lives. And we're not. Okay, release that that, you are responsible for your own happy. You could absolutely be good and kind to other people, but be good and kind to people who are good and kind to you. You don't have a responsibility to put up with bullshit in your life. People are things if you don't have to. I mean, some people you have to, like your kids. Sometimes, my kids don't give a shit if I'm happy, I don't think. So I don't think yet. And that's fine. I mean, they're not supposed to. That's not what they're supposed to do. But they're not trying to make me sad either. But anyway, we're up at our hour, LC. I appreciate you taking the time.
Of course, but the last point to make it to follow up on that point before we go. Everything you just said is about self-awareness. And what I mean by that is you're aware enough to know that XYZ person does something to my spirit that I do not like and I do not want. On the flip side, the people who, dump that type of emotional baggage on you, they're most of the time not being self-aware in the sense that most people don't sit back and analyze themselves and analyze their life because when you were talking about that, I was literally thinking of a couple of people where I was like, shit can't be bad for you all the time. God damn, all the time you got a new fucking story all the time, and it's never your fault. It's always somebody else doing this, somebody else doing that. So and so said, yo, I don't care, son. I got mad kids in this house. I got a wife. I got a job. I got a lot of shit going on. I don't want to hear about whatever it is you're talking about. Listen, if you have a real problem as a friend, by all means, I'm here to work with anybody. And my friends are there to work with me. But you also have to know the people that it's like, they just always find themselves in some shit. And it's just like, but that's also because you haven't done any due diligence with yourself to say, why do I always end up in these fucked up situations? Why do I always get if you end up in 10 bad scenarios, it can't always be 10 other things that are doing it. There's a common thread.
You got to look at yourself.
There's a common thread here. You are the common thread, but you have to think about, what is it about me that I always end up in these situations? And it's like, and I'm not just saying this speaking from hypotheticals, because even in my relationship with my wife, I realized that there were certain common threads, certain mistakes that I had made in other relationships. And I'm just like, oh, I got to nip this shit in the bud now before it spirals into the same old bad situation that other things did. Yep. Self-analysis, people, it works.
So like I tell people, when people say something I'll say, no, but I chose him. Or I chose that. I chose that. So we got to talk about what that says about me. Because I chose that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And let me just tell you another thing. Unhappy people don't like happy people. And so we all have times in our lives where we're unhappy. But there's some people who are not happy with themselves overall. Overall, as people, they really don't like them. If they don't like themselves, they can't like you. So there are people who, when you have anything good, they're not going to celebrate you because they don't like themselves. So they can't be happy for you. So surround yourselves with people who are sometimes happy, because we all ain't never always happy, or are solid in themselves, right? Are solid in who they are. So they're not trying to break you down.
Absolutely.
Because there are people.
Absolutely.
But that's all. Yeah, we had a little Oprah mixed in our stuff this truthing session.
It's good. Because you know what I'm saying, I don't want to be mad at the country all the time. So this is good.
I'm still mad. No, I'm just kidding. All right, I'll holler at you next week.
Absolutely.
Y'all have a great weekend.
Take care, everybody.
Take care. Bye.